here in Jackson, Lord, being a little part of it this morning. It's so exciting for me, Lord. I am looking forward to talking about reaching the world today. And we have a group full of people who, many of them barely starting out, just getting out of high school and their first year of college, Lord, and they've got their whole lives ahead of them to make a difference for you. What a wonderful thing, Lord. We ask that this morning would be profitable for each one of us. It would be something from this talk that each one of us could take with us and remember and use for a very long time, if not the rest of our lives. Lord, we ask that you would have your hand on me as a speaker, on the rest of us as participants, and that it would please you what we say this morning. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen. Okay. Tim, I already told you guys my name. I'm Jeff Brown, blah, blah. We'll get to that later. But you guys will be in where in Easter? Flagstaff, Arizona. Is it like desert there? It's going to be hard to hide the eggs. Somebody has to think of logistics, right? All right. Now, I know a few of you. I know Zach. I know Austin. I know you too. I don't remember your name.
Jesse.
Oh. Jesse.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you. Put that on your forehead. Now, and I know Elizabeth and Jeanette, and we know the Zook brothers, and we know all the Thorntons. Other than that, have I met any of the rest of you? Abigail, because she's from Wyoming. Right. All right. One of the things we'll go over later is it's okay to have racial preferences. That's why I prefer Abigail. All right, now. I'm kidding. Sort of. Now, we will talk about racism just a little bit later on, but that's for later on. That's not the fun stuff. Well, we know what we're talking about this week. This is Missions Week, the entire week, correct? And you're having different lectures come in and fill your heads full of all kinds of stuff. I know the Thorntons came and spoke yesterday, so everything I say is just going to be a repeat of it. So, now I'm going to share a little bit about the Great Commission, about my life, how the Lord has worked in me to help me to help fulfill that Great Commission, and how you can do it too. We're going to talk about the things that get in the way in our own lives of fulfilling the Great Commission. Some of the dilemmas that we have. And by the way, we hear the Great Commission all the time. I'm going to call it the Great Assignment. And there's only one reason it's lame. It's because you guys are in school. So it's like homework. But that's what I'm going to refer to today as the Great Commission, as the Great Assignment. And it is an assignment, and it is homework, and it is due at some point. And you can start doing it now. How many of you have been on a missions trip? Raise your hand. Okay, how many speak of you have studied another language? Which language have you studied?
Spanish.
Spanish and what?
Italian.
Italian?
Yeah.
Isn't that the same language? What's that? Austin, what have you studied?
Spanish.
Spanish. Anybody study anything other than Spanish? What do you study?
Latin.
Latin. Wow, you could be a Latin American. All right. Mr. Zook, Russian. You guys grew up in Russia. All right, so you guys have fulfilled the great assignment already. No. All right, just asking little questions about you guys. For the most part, you guys are not from Wyoming, right?
Yeah.
So you learned English at a later age, probably? Right.
There's two others from Wyoming that are too shy to admit it.
Is that right? I could probably sense who they were, but I can't tell. Who else is from Wyoming? You are. What is your name? Haley? Candy. It's right there. I can't even see it. My goodness, Candy, what town are you from? Douglas?
Yes.
Wow. You know, I met a ton of kids from Douglas. I was friends with kids whose last name is really weird. It's, I'm going to have to remember it, but you know them. I know you do. They're older than you, but it's a really, it's an odd name. I just can't remember it. But I'll have to talk to you about that. And who else is from Wyoming?
My sister,
Your sister. What's your sister's name?
Aline.
Aline?
Yeah.
Accent on the first syllable? To believe it. Aline. That's why that A is bigger than the others, right? What is your guys' last name, Aline?
Chamberlain.
Chamberlain. Okay, I wish I could remember that name. It's the silliest last name in the world. No, it's not.
Joan.
Oh, Brown. Okay. All right, Wyoming Knights, if you want to sit up here with me, that's fine. Now. I know. What does the Bible say, you know, as we have opportunity, Galatians 6:10, do good unto all men, especially to those of the household of Wyoming. So, it says a household of faith. Just a couple words about the great assignment. Let's read it, Matthew 28:18-20. You probably have this memorized. My focus will not be so much on what is the great assignment, because I think we have a handle on that. And if you didn't before, you do as of yesterday, because Sid spoke to you. Rather, what are the things that get in the way, and how can we get over those things? If you're like me, you had things in your life that got in the way of you fulfilling the great assignment. And we're going to talk about getting over those things best we can. Matthew 28:18-20 says this, Jesus came up and spoke to them, saying, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Because of that, verse 19 and 20, go therefore and make disciples of all nations. That's the phrase I'm going to concentrate on. Go and make disciples of all nations. Baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I've commanded you, and lo, I'm with you always, even the end of the age. So the great assignment, I'm going to shorten it most of the time that I quote it to go and make disciples of all nations. All right? It's probably going to bug somebody in the room, and I apologize for not quoting the whole thing every time, but that's what I'm going to focus on. Making disciples from other nations. Just a couple things about that. Are there any exceptions? Is there anybody here in this room or in America or in somewhere else that really is exempt from the great assignment? Anybody? Sid is. He already did it.
Unbelievers.
Unbelievers are exempt from that. Wow, I didn't even think of that. You know, it's going to be a multiple choice question, and I'd have got that wrong. So, unbelievers are exempt. Anybody else that's exempt from fulfilling the great assignment? Anybody else whose homework is not due? No? Abigail says no. Anybody? Then why isn't everybody a missionary right now? Why isn't everybody a missionary if none of us are exempt? Now I've got a lot of time, I got some coffee in here, so I'm just going to sit here and be quiet. Why isn't everyone a missionary if none of us are exempt? Mr. Zip.
If everybody left to be a missionary overseas, then we wouldn't have a church here, so we'd have to come back.
That's true. Practically, we can't all go, right? Somebody has to stay. What's your name?
Alexa,
Alexa. Why is that your name?
desk is up there.
Okay, well, Alexa, I'm going to take your nameplate. Put it on, I don't even know if this come off. All right, Alexa, why is it that we're not all missionaries?
Well, we are technically all missionaries, it just depends on where our field is. But some
Okay.
people are here locally, some people are abroad.
We're all technically missionaries, which missionaries may or may not agree with, but we all have a different field. Some of it's here and some of it's there. That's a really good answer, Alexa. You get a C+. So, I'm just kidding, you get a C. But part of us are called to stay and part of us to go. What percentage, this is just a bunch of stupid questions, okay, but they really matter. What percentage of people, of Christians, do you think are called to go live in different places in the world, and what percentage are called to mostly be sedentary and stay in one place? There's no right answer to this one, but there's a wrong. Alexa, I thought you had this. You know, you went from here to here. Now, who else has an answer to that? Just a guess. What percentage of the Christian community are called to be mobile gospel workers? And what percentage are called to stay in one place? Zach, your mouth just went like this.
It's because I don't. I'm like.
That's a sign of a stroke. I just got. Training first aid. Is your hand up? Look at that. Let's raise it all the way up because I can't see that far. Adriana, what is your answer?
Well, the beginning of the verse it says go, so shouldn't all of us not, like, we should all not be focused on staying exactly. We may stay, but that shouldn't be our goal, right?
Adriana, I'm so confused.
I
But I agree
I'm so
with
sorry.
you. I agree exactly, and I know what you're saying. I just know, okay? But it's right. What is it you said? No, I'm just kidding. Many of us are called to stay. A few of us are called to be mobile, but all of us are called to go. All of us are called to go. Now, you talk to different missionaries, they're going to say different things, and you know, you talk to Mary and Sid later, and they say, well, I didn't really agree with 40% of what he said. That's fine. You can talk to them and get it right later. But we're all called to go. We're not all called to be we are not all called to be mobile gospel workers. People who move around, share the gospel in different parts of the earth. Not all of us are called to that. Do you agree? Most of us are called to stay, but we are still called to go where we're at. That's what you're saying, right? And Alexa, you said something like that. Some of us are called to stay and go. Some of us are called to go and go, right? Which is also confusing. But here's what it means. Not all of us are called to go spend our lives in Russia, except the Zooks and a few others, right? But all of us are called to reach someone here who is different than us. All of us are called to go across the street or over to this place where the Hispanics live, or over to this place where the rich people live, or over to this place where the old people live. Whatever it is, a group that's different than us, making disciples of those people. Not just our own people, but those outside of it. Not just me and Abigail, Candy and Aline. Not just us four Wyomingites, but the rest of us, right? We're called to go outside our little circle. That's a dilemma in itself because we're not always comfortable going outside our circle. Who is your circle? Hannah?
My circle?
Yeah, who's your people you're comfortable with?
My dog.
Wow, you're a human dog. Dogs are people too, it's just that they are not really people. Now, so, Hannah, what people are you comfortable with? Are you a sociopath, or are you just Bible college?
Sometimes. I guess like my friends and my family. Close with
Okay, that's a circle, right? It's uncomfortable sometimes to go outside of that. Who's your circle? Shiz. What? Selena.
Who's my circle?
Hmm?
I think I would say believers.
Believers, okay? That's a good circle, right? We have to go outside that circle and reach some folks. Samuel, who's your circle?
My friends from high school.
Friends from high school. Okay, are they here today?
No.
Time to get another circle. All right, Samuel, who wants to be part of Samuel's circle? I'm around. Okay.
Part of your circle.
Oh, this one's part of your circle. Okay, we have to go outside our circle. That's a dilemma in itself, and that's one of the biggest things we're going to talk about today is going outside of our circle. Now, how many of you here were raised in Christian school? Several of you. How many of you were raised in homeschool? How many in public school? 4? 5 of us. That's a pretty big number. You guys are my circle. All right, now, Samuel, you're my circle. It's just you have old people in your circle now with beards. Now, that's our circle, okay? We need to get outside of it, and it's not always easy. I'm going to start sharing my testimony right now. Now, the great assignment is to go make disciples of other nations. I'm going to talk to you first about my childhood, maybe into high school, and there's certain ways that I was raised that are similar than as the way that you were raised. But the first dilemma we're going to talk about is fear of man. How am I going to reach people outside my circle? Number one, if I never see them, or number two, if I'm afraid of them. How am I going to do that? What's our process going to be to get outside of our circle? Because it's not easy, is it? It's not easy for me. It's not easy for Sid or Mary. Tim is the only one that can do that easily. So how do we do it practically? How do we get outside of our little circle? How do we make it bigger? How do we include people that don't belong? Now, I was raised in a Christian home. I think most of you were raised in a Christian home. And I went to public school. Really, Christian school and homeschool were not much of an option in those days. It was hard to, we'd catch the covered wagon for bus in the morning, but it was different. There was really not those kind of things. Pretty much everybody in my generation went to public school, right? And I was raised, however, with a mother who was a little bit overprotective. That's not easy to admit. Because automatically all the guys think, ah, what a wuss, right? But there was a significant part of my childhood and high school years where I was truly afraid of non-believers. I was afraid of them. I didn't go, huh, not like that. Not that kind of fear, but social fear. Right, I know some of you struggle with that. You may or may not ever really quite get over it. I don't know that I quite get over it. I think I still struggle with fear of non-believers, fear of bringing them into my circle. That's something that we'll struggle with probably for a while. Sometimes it's not fear anymore, it's just not very convenient to bring them into our circle. Because we've got this really cool circle. You know, when you're part of a good church, it is fun. And you don't really need to go outside of that for social reasons. But we do have to go outside of that to make disciples and to be obedient to the great assignment. We've got to get outside that circle. So I was raised with a mother who was a tad overprotective when it came to non-believers. My mother was very sheltered. She went to public school and all that. She was very sheltered. My mom, she'd shoot me if she knew I said this to you. My mom did not know about the birds and bees until she was 20 years old. She thought for sure that couples just prayed together and a baby would come out. You know, she had no idea. Holy cow, right? And my mom was really sheltered. Everybody get the picture? Wow, naive. And my mom raised us children to be afraid of the non-believing world. I grew up in a Mormon town. Maybe some of you have grown up in a similar circumstance. I know Tim grew up in a Muslim country. And growing up in a Mormon town in Wyoming, Lovell is the name of the town. If you ever want to visit there, hold your hand over your heart. That's my hometown. But it's all Mormons, okay? And my mother taught us to be afraid of them. You become friends with them, they're going to make you bad. Right? Now, she would let us be friends with bad Christian kids, but the Mormon kids she didn't want us to be friends with. So we weren't really friends with the Mormon kids at all. We were separated from them. Or does that sound familiar to anybody in the way they were raised? Separated from a certain group of people? Selena!
Yes, sir.
You can sit up here too. Now, who were you separated from?
I don't know, I guess my parents did seem to be overbearing when it came to choosing friends, but they definitely guided that. And I was shy, so I didn't have a lot of friends to begin with, but it just seemed like just the believers were friends, where I wasn't with the unbelievers. I wasn't, just with other, or even some of the bad Christian kids. I just wasn't with them, so it was just, I don't know, that's what I got comfortable with.
Okay, what's a good reason your parents did that to you?
Good reason is you have a solid foundation, you're less likely to be pulled away from that at a young age when you're more vulnerable.
Okay, they're protecting you from the garbage that those kids have to swim in every day. Isn't that right? I mean, it's tough being part of that as a kid sometimes, and you're scared of that. My mom just kept me separate from those kids, so I wasn't friends with them. I was friends with the Christian kids, whether they were believers or not. Some of those kids, really very, very few of them ended up being believers. And there were very few kids to begin with that weren't LDS in the first place. So I was separated from those kids and I was afraid. I didn't know how to let them in my circle. I didn't want them in my circle, to be honest. I had my circle. My circle was a Lovell Bible Church. It's a great church. Man, I could go on and on. It was just a wonderful church. That was my circle. I didn't really go outside of that socially. Okay? I went to school with them. I worked with them. I began to be friends through work, actually. My freshman year, my sophomore year, I did a lot of working after school. I became friends with several adult non-believers and some young people that were non-believers too, and that helped me out. But anyways, how are we going to get outside of our circle? How are we going to get over our fear of non-believers? That was where I was at. I think that's where a lot of you guys were at. Your parents were really concerned that you did not become like the world, so they separated you away from that world. Was that wrong? You have bad parents? Well, you don't have bad parents, and it wasn't wrong. That was a decision they made to keep you guys from going a direction that would take you away from the Lord Jesus. You know what your parents' number one goal is if they know Lord Jesus? You know the number one goal they have for you is that you go to heaven when you die. As a parent, we cannot stand to think of our kids going to hell. And we do all sorts of things to keep our kids from going to hell. And that's one of the things that many, many parents' decision they make is to have a Christian education to prepare you for the day when you're going to confront an unbelieving world. Because ready or not, here it comes. And it's coming very quickly for you guys. You guys are done with Christian school after this year, right? A few of you may go on to Bible college or Christian college. Many of you are just going to go to university or just go to work, whatever. And the world will be right at your doorstep, just in a few months. It'll be all over you. Your parents have prepared you to face that. But whether we like it to or whether we mean to or not, sometimes we overprotect you from the non-believing world. It's coming. How will you let it in? Once you let it in, what will you do with it? Those are the things we're going to talk about. Now for me, I had, in my childhood, we talked about that, I was afraid of, Mormons. And just thought they were after us and they're going to try to, do all sorts of terrible things to us, so I stayed away. I blamed my social isolation on the LDS Church, saying it was their fault. In reality, I was isolating myself from them. I was more the isolated than they were. Kids, as children, they don't really care. Until maybe 5th, 6th grade, they don't even care what color you are. And then they don't care what religion you are. Then it starts kicking in junior high and high school. They start caring about that kind of stuff. But I was convinced they didn't like me because they're Mormons, and I wasn't. It's not the case. I'll share more about that in a little while. That's where I was at. But the Lord gave me some opportunities as a young person. First thing He did, He sent a couple, an adult couple, who would take kids like me, Christian kids like me, and take them around to different communities in Wyoming that didn't have churches, and we would do vacation Bible schools, and we would do a program, an evangelistic program for the parents Friday night. And at that time, the missionary would come, and he would share about Jesus. He would give the gospel to the people. Maybe somebody gets saved, maybe not. He'd offer them, we'll do a Bible study in your town if you would like that. We did that in towns like Barrow, where there's no church today. They started, this couple, Ed and Linda Black, started a church there. It is no longer in existence. You probably know, no, you're not from Douglas, I'm sorry, Candy and Aline. You guys may know David and Pam Dick. Yeah, they're with the same organization. I worked with David when David was a whippersnapper, and now he's not a whippersnapper. He's older than I am, if that's possible. Now, we went all over the state, did that kind of stuff. And they gave us the big job. We ran the VBS. There were no adults around. It was just us teenagers. And we would run the whole thing. We were responsible for it. We were responsible for maintaining the good testimony in that town, keeping ourselves from being stupid and all that kind of stuff. And it was great. And we got to share the gospel with teenagers as well and adults all over this state. It was great. It was a great opportunity that I had to get me out of my comfort zone, to force people into my circle that I didn't really want into my circle. That was a good thing. Is it okay to have to be forced to get people into your circle, to get non-believers? Is that okay to be forced? Or is it supposed to come from your heart? Right? Sometimes we think, well, it should come from, who cares where it comes from? Let him in. And if it has to be forced, that's a good thing. That's God working. All right? Let Him do that. That was one way that people were forced into my circle. Another thing that I began to do, fearfully, was share the gospel with kids that didn't know the Lord. Mostly LDS kids. I would share the gospel with them, but I was really fearful of them. So it was weird. Okay, the kids would hear it and they'd be like, man, this kid's so weird. Do you kind of, can you picture, I'm just, hi, do you know that Jesus loves you and you're going to hell? Just awkward. Sometimes we start kind of awkward. And I started awkward. And I was fearful, guys, and I didn't do a very good job. But I did. Now, if you are fearful, yes, Hannah.
What does LDS stand for?
LDS, Latter-day Saints. That's what the Mormon Church calls itself. Mormons sometimes don't like it when us Gentiles call them Mormons. So I always refer to them as the LDS people, LDS Church. Okay, out of deference to them, I just want to put my best foot forward. And I really enjoy LDS people today. Our family was, and our church was, began to be persecuted by the LDS Church, by the Mormons. And we were eventually kicked out of town in 1986. I was still in high school. But I love those people. I identify those people. They're part of my circle. They're part of my culture. And I'm not freaked out by them. I enjoy them. Sometimes I get, overexposed. We were in Salt Lake yesterday. And, it's just weird. But that's who the LDS people are. Long answer, short question. Now, if you begin to witness, let's say that you really haven't shared the gospel a lot with non-believers. Let's just say that's the truth. And you start, and you're fearful, that's okay. Don't wait till you're not scared. That make sense? Don't wait until you have your first non-believing friend. Just do it. Here's what it's going to feel like sometimes. Here's what it'll feel like. Let's say that none of you have ever shared the gospel while you're here at Jacksonville Bible College. All your friends are here. You have no friends outside of this group. Let's just say that's the case. Okay? And if that's the case, I'm not here to bully about that or make you feel bad. I don't want you to feel bad about that. That's as natural as anything. But here's what I want you to say. Here's what it's going to feel like. If you never shared the gospel here at Jacksonville Bible College and you go and do it, here's what it's going to feel like. You're going to go out there, tell somebody about Jesus, and then come running back to Jacksonville Bible College where we're safe. That's okay. That's what I did. I'd run back to Level Bible Church and where it felt safe to me. And then I'd go and tell somebody at school, and then I'd run back where I was safe. Awkward. Maybe a little strange, but I was being obedient to Lord Jesus Christ. You can't believe how God is willing to work with someone if they're willing to be obedient even though they're scared. Don't wait until you have confidence. Don't wait until you're not scared. Just do it. Just do it. Let it be awkward. If it's awkward, don't worry about it. It's natural as anything if you start off awkward. It takes practice to be good at something, doesn't it? Yeah. You're not going to be Billy Graham right out of the gate. You're not even going to be Franklin Graham right out of the gate. Right? It's going to take a bit, and you're going to have to work at it and get better. If you are fearful of the non-believing world, you're not going to be unfearful necessarily just like that. Maybe God can do that. For the most part, you're going to have to get used to it. You're going to have to put your toe in the water. You're going to have to put your foot in the water. Then, okay, you can just keep going, deeper and deeper. Right? When you get out of Jacksonville Bible College, you're going to look for a new circle. I hope it's a good church, and I hope that's your circle. You can go outside of that circle, tag a non-believer, and come back in. And then slowly you can stay out there a little bit and have a conversation. And maybe one day you'll become a friend to an unbelieving Gentile like Abigail. Maybe that'll happen, right? That's what our goal is. We've got to become friends with these people that don't know the Lord. And that is probably going to be your number one struggle for the next 10 or 15 years. I think that's going to be the hardest thing for most of us. Some of us it won't be. Most of us it'll be that thing. Letting people into our circle to become friends. What's scary about inviting a non-believer to be your friend and to no kidding spend time with that person and open up, have them open up to you? What's scary about that? Elizabeth?
You also feel like you have to guard yourself when you're with them.
Guard yourself from what?
Like sin, I guess.
Okay? What are they going to do that you have to guard yourself from?
Maybe just like the way that they live their life is a lot different from how you're living your life.
Very good. What do non-believers do? Because they're non-believers. What do they do? What's that?
Everything and anything.
Everything and anything, right? Cliff diving. What do they do? Listen, non-believers do the same things as you and I do, okay? Video games or whatever you guys do. What do they do because they're non-believers that we're not supposed to do? Zach?
There's no like concept of living in the spirit or anything.
Okay.
They don't have. They're kind of just always in the flesh. Like there's no like boundary of like, well, I'm living in the spirit right now. Like they
Right.
can do whatever.
No spiritual boundary, okay? Do they know how to be nice to people? Hannah, just a second. Yes, they know how to be. Can they be decent to you?
Yeah.
Can they be a good friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can. Hannah?
I was gonna say like the same stuff that we do when we sin, except for like they don't have like the aspect of like forgiveness and like asking for it, and I don't know.
Okay, here, the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 5, you can turn there if you want. I'm going to just kind of quote it. It's at the end of the chapter. It's talking about sexual sin. Here's an example of what non-believers do, and I'll give you the answer before I take it. they do immorality. They do fornication. That's what non-believers do. They may or may not commit adultery. They may value fidelity to their spouse, but they're going to do fornication. All right, that's 1 Corinthians 5. It says this, I told you in my former letter, Paul wrote a lot of letters to the Corinthians. Not all of them were Bible letters, okay? Not everything the Apostle Paul wrote was Bible. He wrote letters all the time that weren't Bible, just like you and I. But when he wrote 1st and 2nd Corinthians, those were Bible. But this other letter he wrote, he had to correct it in 1 Corinthians. He says, I told you in my letter not to associate with immoral people, with fornicators. What verse is that, Elizabeth? Verse 9, okay? But I didn't mean the fornicators who were unbelievers. Didn't mean those guys. Because then, where would you have to go to escape non-believers that fornicate?
Out of the world.
Out of the world. Where's that?
Found in verse 10.
I know, but where is out of this world? I mean, you have to leave the planet, right? You go to Mars, there's no non-believers that are fornicators there. But if you're on this planet, in whatever country, you're going to come across non-believers and they fornicate. Right? We're trying not to do that. And as parents, we're really trying hard for our kids not to do that. But these kids are doing that. They want to do that. They're going to do that. Why? Because they're non-believers. You're going to face that, and you're going to have an answer for that, and you're going to have an attitude towards that as a believer. If you're going to have friends that are non-believers, forget trying to find the virgin, and I'll be friends with the moral Christian or the moral non-Christian. Forget that. Ain't going to happen. You're going to have friends who have sexual experience that you don't have, or that you're trying not to have. Okay? That's what non-believers do. What about in Wyoming? What do non-believers do? What kind of drink do they drink? This is a big hint. Beer, right? It goes in their mouth and out their ears. I mean, we have no beer in this state. It's incredible. Am I right, Abigail? Yeah, she's a Wyoming guy. Right? Aline and Candace know about that. That's not even Candace, it's Candlin. Man, your parents got creative on their name. I'll stick with Candy, I can pronounce that. They're going to drink, you guys. What are you going to do? Are we going to go, can't be friends? Do you see the barriers you're going to have to cross? You're going to have to accept people as your friends that are not believers. Now, if you go further in 1 Corinthians 5, it says, I didn't mean the non-believing world when I said don't hang out with fornicators. I meant the believing world. You're going to have a different standard for your believing friends than your non-believing friends. Your believing friends, you're going to hold their feet to the fire and say, hey, no, you can't be doing that. The Lord doesn't want you to do that. Let's stop doing that right now. I'll help you. That's what you're going to do with your believing friend. Your non-believing friend, fornication's not going to be your issue. You're not going to pound on them. Oh, you got to stop doing that. Why would they stop doing that? They're a non-believer. If they stop fornicating, are they going to heaven now? No. Matthew, right? All right. I'm trying to get you guys separated in my mind.
This is a real easy way to tell.
That's true. Matthew has no hair. I'll have to come up with some sort of mnemonic device. All right.
Call him Chrome Dome.
It's getting a little too close to home for me. I have a different standard for my non-believing friends. I don't require them to be pure to be my friends. I don't require them to be sober to be my friends. Most of my non-believing friends drink. Many of my non-believing friends that are my age still smoke marijuana. It's Jackson, right? And so my wife and I have inhaled more secondhand smoke since coming here to Jackson than we ever have in our lives. And I had roommates that I lived with that, all right, all to say, we have a different standard for them. Does that make sense? It's one way to become a friend of a non-believer. Don't have the same standard. Accept them for who they are. Does Jesus accept us for who we are when we get saved? Or does he say, reform thyself, and then you can get saved?
He accepts.
Accepts us how we are. Will we accept those non-believing friends as they are? Yes. Yeah? Got to. Because that's who they are. and we'll have an influence on them. What happens if they have an influence on us, by the way? If they're influencing me more than I'm influencing them, what should we do at that point? Get out of that. Get out of that. That's no problem. Don't feel bad. Say, hey, I'll see you later. And that's it. There's a song about that, 50 ways to leave your non-believing friend. Remember, just slip out the back, Jack. Nobody gets that. My boys heard that song for the first time this week on spring break. Oh, it's a cool song. Yeah, it's cool. Your parents were cool. All right. Huh?
Paul Simon.
Paul Simon. It was incredible. He's a weird guy, but he did a good song. All right. Number one, if you feel scared about witnessing, that's fine. Just do it. If it's awkward, that's fine. Just do it. If you have to come right back to your circle of believing friends, if you have to just, and then come back, that's fine. God will work with you and get you to stay out there longer and longer and be able to have non-believing friends that you affect and they don't affect you. Okay? You will find that you can become very good friends with non-believers. They have the same feelings as us. They have to do the same things as us, plus a few things. They don't do some of the things that we do, like reading the Bible. Most of our non-believing friends don't read the Bible. Why would they? And yet if they start, they might find that they're really intrigued. If you start your this is a rabbit trail, if you start your non-believing friend reading in the book of Mark, for instance, they see Jesus for who he is, and Jesus is attractive. We don't have something to sell that's unattractive. Okay? Jesus is tremendously attractive. Just read the book of Mark thinking like a non-believer. Jesus is so incredible. We're selling something that's beautiful, that's wonderful. It's the greatest product on earth. So don't be ashamed of that. But if you're afraid, that's okay. Just do it. That's how we all start out. Just a few opportunities that you have once you're out of Jackson Hole Bible College. Number one, find a summer ministry. Consider that for a summer or two or whatever. Something that's evangelistic, not something where you simply go and build things with this big group of Christian teenagers. Don't do that. Okay? Do one where you share the gospel with children, teens, adults, old people, whatever it is. Find one of those things if you get an opportunity. Maybe you'll spend your whole summer doing that in lieu of working. Maybe you'll work and the evenings you'll do something like that. But find a ministry like that. That was a lifesaver for me growing up in a very small, non-believing town. Number two, evangelism is your opportunity. How many of you are going to work this summer? Are you going to work in a Christian place with only Christian employees? Maybe some of us have a job like that, like you work at a church or something like that. Most of us are going to have jobs where we're out there with non-believing people. Make friends with them. Share the gospel. It's pretty natural. You'll enjoy them after a while. You think, these guys aren't too bad. These guys are kind of fun. See if you can share the gospel at some point. Maybe you'll be able to slip something in. Maybe you'll share the whole gospel that summer. Maybe you'll share part of it. Maybe you'll just live as a shining light and tell people, I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. Maybe that's all you'll get out this summer. Hey, awesome. Get that done. School. Some of you are going to go on to a college where not everybody knows the Lord. How many of you, I shouldn't even ask, I don't know if it's a dirty word or not, how many of you are going to the university or a secular school after you're done here? Abigail. And what's your name? I can't see your name. Ben? That's my oldest son's name. That would be easy. Benjamin's going to university. Zach did something with his hand. I don't know.
It's
You're one of the-
community college.
Community
that
college.
counts.
That counts. Something that's not a Christian college. That's another natural place to share the gospel. Get to know those kids, share the gospel. That leads us to the second part, and that is the number two dilemma. First dilemma, how do we reach people if we're scared of it? Second dilemma, once we reach people that are not believers, how do I not become like them? There's a temptation to become like our friends, isn't there? Is there a good reason your parents separated you off from a lot of non-believing kids? Yeah, there's a good reason. I understand that reason. And parents have to you guys as parents are going to have to make that decision. Like, will I send my kids to public school, homeschool, Christian school? It'll be a decision that all of you make. I don't care which decision that you make, but you need to help your kids reach a non-believing world, whatever you do. And you can do it in any of those three. Help your kids reach a non-believing world. I see kids from all three of those situations reaching people with the gospel. Okay, remember, as a student, you're still required to go and make disciples. Even as a Jackson Hole Bible College student, you're required to do that. It's part of your homework, the great assignment. Now I'm going to talk about my high school and college years. Temptation to become like your non-believing friends. In becoming friends with the lost, how do we not become like them? Now, I was scared of non-believers up until my junior year. The Bible says this in 2 Timothy 1:7. I'm going to turn there. You guys know this verse. It says, the Lord has not given us the spirit of fear. What do some of your other versions say? 2 Timothy 1:7. The Lord has not given us the spirit of what? Timidity. But that's too many syllables to me, so I'm going to stick with the old King James. Fear. The Lord hasn't given us the spirit of fear or timidity. Now, what about if you're a shy person by birth? Has the Lord given you a shy personality? Is that from the Lord? Or is that from the devil? Anybody got a shy personality? Anybody? Selena does. Horrible. Is that from the Lord or is that from the devil?
Sometimes I think it's from the devil.
Sometimes you think it's from the devil. Oh my goodness, what a confession. Did God make Selena to be shy? Or is there this little monster waiting to get out, this social animal? Did God make Selena shy? Or did Satan somehow twist her to become shy?
No, that's how God made her.
Huh?
That's how God made her.
Okay, you have a chance at dating Selena now. That was a good answer.
Don't say that.
I was going to
My
say if you
roommate's
said
gonna
the
beat me
devil.
up.
I was going to say if you said the devil made her that way, it'd be hard. God made Selena shy.
Lost them away.
Are you guys still friends? God made Selena shy. That's no problem. He's not talking about personality. He's not talking about, God has given us the spirit of outgoingness. No, that's not what he's saying. He's not giving us the spirit of timidity or fear. Fear is different than shyness, isn't it? You ever met somebody who's shy but shares the gospel faithfully? Ever met somebody like that? Adriana has met someone like that. I've met people like that. I had a friend from India who came to the United States as a college student. He's got a PhD, lives in Texas now, blah, blah, blah. But very quiet, timid young man. But he made it his goal to share the gospel with anyone who became his friend. And he did. He still lives by that. And he shares the gospel faithfully. And he shares it well. And people get saved around him. Isn't that crazy? Shy, but not fearful. Okay, Selena's shy. God made her that way, but God didn't make her fearful. What makes us fearful? There's a lot of different things that can make us fearful in this life. My mother, I'm not trying to blame her, but she helped me become fearful of non-believers. She fed that. She told us Mormons are bad. You have to really be careful. They're bad. They'll make you do bad things, right? And I just thought, man, these guys are the boogeyman. This is crazy. But there's other things. What were you saying, Sid?
I met the boogeyman.
You met the, oh yeah, that's true. That is a phenomenon in Indonesia, isn't it? It's some Dutch
Boogies
thing.
people group.
They do come and get you in the night, right?
Not anymore.
Well,
Only if you're on the ocean.
what? In the ocean. It's real.
It's a UPG in Indonesia, the Boogies people, and they were pirates, and they used to be called the boogeyman. So you've heard that, and now you know what it means.
Is that the origination of that phrase?
Yes.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Really? Whoa.
But it's not the origination of the phrase, of the term boogie. It's different. That came from Barry Manilow. All right. The boogeyman. Crazy how Indonesians have greatly affected American culture. I'm not naturally shy, but I was fearful. So when I was fearful, all these LDS kids, that was not the way the Lord made me. That was not my personality. That was fear that was inside me for a variety of reasons. Okay? If you're scared of something, sometimes you had a bad experience with something. Some of us are scared of bees or clowns or something like that, right? Yep, right there, Ben, scared of clowns.
Bees.
Bee clowns. It's even worse. Clown with a stinger. Okay.
Grab a face and arm army of clowns than freaking bee. I hate bees.
100 clowns to 1. All right. We had a bad experience and we're afraid of that. That's okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that every time a non-believer comes around and we don't know what to say. And we clam up and we're uncomfortable. Okay? That spirit is not from the Lord. It's not from Satan either, I don't think. I'm not saying, oh, this devil is. I'm not saying that. I am saying it's not from God. Fear of man, not from God. Fear of non-believers, not from God. God didn't make you that way. Okay, so if you're a naturally shy person, don't use that as an excuse. Say, well, I'm just natural. No. Fine to be naturally shy. But God does not give us a spirit of fear. Instead, He gives us, 2 Timothy 1:7, a spirit of power towards non-believing people, right? Not fear, but powerful. You feel powerful around non-believers? That's from the Lord. If you feel unpowerful, that's from you. And you need God's Spirit in you to feel powerful around non-believers. A spirit of love He's given us. Do you feel love around non-believers or fear? God hasn't given you the fear part. He's given you the spirit of love. And of a sound mind or discipline, some of your versions may say something different. Sound mind, discipline, whatever it is. That's what God gives us towards a non-believing world. And towards the believing world as well. Fear is not from God. Fear of man is not from God. I realized when I was a junior in high school that these kids that I was scared of were just as scared as me. Just as scared as I was of me as I was of them. Not because I was a non-LDS. They didn't care. I thought they did, and they didn't care. I just was afraid to talk to them, so I didn't. So I was a little wallflower all the time. Like this, a disembodied. Kids are so creepy. I was a wallflower, and I did not engage them, and so they didn't engage me. But I watched them in the halls, and if I would walk with my head up, you know, between classes when you're not supposed to be in the hall, and there'd be one person way down there. If I'd look at them, they'd put their eyes down. It didn't matter if it was a shy person or an outgoing person. It didn't matter if it was a small-built boy or a big athlete. They put their heads down. They have social anxiety. The world has social anxiety. And they're not always good at reaching out to a believer. Sometimes they think that we don't like them. I don't think that's the case with anybody in here. I don't think anybody in here dislikes the non-believing world. Sometimes we're a little afraid to engage it. Okay, admit it, and let the Lord put that in your heart. Tell the Lord, Lord, I have a spirit of fear. And read 2 Timothy 2:7 and memorize it. Tell yourself that. Remind yourself. God hasn't given me a spirit of fear, but power, love, and sound mind. So I began to reach out socially to people. Just say, hey, how you doing? Good? And they started returning the favor. They want to be my friends. It was night and day. It's really weird. But when God gives you the spirit of power and love and sound mind, and you reach out to people because you care about them, they respond back favorably most of the time. I couldn't believe it. The girls I was scared to death of because they were pretty, they had social anxiety about me. And I was it's hard to believe, but I was not a good-looking high schooler. You know? And so these beautiful girls, the cheerleaders, they had social anxiety about me. So I'd say, hey, Polly Littlefield, how are you? She's the prettiest girl in school. Wow, amazing. She went off to BYU and got her eternal soulmate. That's another LDS Mormon thing. But I found she had social anxiety when I'd say, hi, Polly, how are you? Good, how are you, Jeff? Hey, Polly. And she'd want to talk about her problems. Crazy. I'd never had any contact with that girl before. I was scared to death of her. And the big athlete guys say, hey, how's it going? Bam, on the back. Oh, good. Right? And then they start talking to me. That's a typical male response. So, look, guys, don't have a spirit of fear. If you do, tell the Lord, let Him put His spirit of power, love, and sound mind into you. It makes a difference. And we engage in the non-believing world, not from an inferior position of, you know about Jesus? And that's okay. If you're that way, start. Don't wait for the spirit of power to kick in. But listen, that's the reality. We have so many unfair advantages over the non-believing world, don't we? We have ways to cope that they never dreamed of. We have hope that they simply do not have. Man, guys, I'll tell you what, it makes tears want to come to my eyes thinking about the fact they have no hope, no way to cope with the things that happen with them. And we do. Do they have a spirit of power and love and sound mind? No. They have a spirit of fear, and you may think, oh, they're so confident. They're not. They are not. They're so lame, and they know it. Why? Because they don't have Jesus. They don't know how to live life right, and it hurts them. They have tremendous problems, and if you become just a little friend with them, they will let you in. And that's a great way to go to the gospel. We'll talk about that later, okay? We're coming up on a break here very quickly. About 10 o'clock, we're going to take a break. Tim said that you guys usually take a break for about 20 seconds. Is that right? And then come right back? I won't take a break. We'll make it long enough so you can get done what you need to get done, and so that one of you can bring me coffee. But God gave me a spirit of power. It began to change how I interacted with the non-believing world. I began feeling confident. Not because of me, but because of who Jesus is. Because I had this great big God inside me, and He reached out in love to people that I was scared of in my flesh. God wasn't scared of them. And He just needs a person like Selena, like Julie, who maybe is kind of shy, but it doesn't matter. He'll reach through you to somebody, grab hold of them, and save them if you'll let that happen. Power and love, sound mind. If you don't have that spirit of power that you don't feel that, you got to keep witnessing anyways. Let God put that into your heart. Let that soak in to your mind. Memorize that verse. Meditate on it. Ruminate on it. Chew on it like it's your cud. That's what ruminate means. Keep chewing it up till it comes out in your actions. Till you feel that. But don't wait for the feeling to go out and do that. Now, I went to college that way. With a lot of confidence from the Lord for the gospel. Now, I didn't have confidence in athletics. The spirit of power and love and sound mind that God gives you doesn't transfer to the football field. I didn't become a quarterback. Right? I didn't make the team. I didn't try to make the team. I knew, not for me. Can't do it. He didn't make me incredibly good looking at that point. It took some years. It doesn't happen right away. I think you're mocking. All right. It's not that. It's not become Mr. Personality or Miss Personality. You still have your same personality. My personality is big. All right, but my person naturally is small. Well, maybe not naturally. The way I was raised, things that happened to me, I was a small person. I was not a powerful person. I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about my level of confidence. I struggle with lack of confidence, a lot. My personality is big when I'm with Christians, when I'm non-believers, it shrinks down, and I have to remind myself, no, I've got the spirit of power from God. I'm not coming at these people as some little guy. I'm coming at these people with God. And it's huge. And He gives me power and love and sound mind to reach people with the gospel. Not power and love and sound mind to be a popular person. Not power and love and sound mind to be a great athlete. Not power and love and sound mind to be whatever. It's to reach people with the gospel. That's when I have confidence. Okay? I may or may not have confidence in other social situations. But when it comes to shepherding people, making disciples, God can give me real confidence for that. Power, love, sound mind. Started that in high school. Took that to college. I had some great opportunities in college. A word about college. If you go to a secular school or a secular job, you're going to need a really good church. And I hope every one of you goes in the secular world. It is possible. It is possible to live your entire Christian life inside a Christian bubble. It's possible. I don't want that to happen to any of you. But it will be the natural thing. And you have to fight against it. Pastors fight against this. Church people fight against this. Hopefully we fight against it. It's so natural because our fellowship is so awesome. We have this great fellowship around the Holy Spirit. I mean, it's incredible. Why would we leave it? Because there's a dying world. And God calls us to go do it. Go, leave a little circle. Go, make disciples. We have to do that. And so, we have to battle against that. It is possible in certain places in America to not only have a Christian church, but to have a Christian job with only believers, to live in a Christian gated community, to go to a Christian bowling alley and a Christian gym, and not only that, even in Arizona there are Christian grocery stores. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Guys, that is crap. Am I supposed to use that word here? But I mean it. It's garbage. What a waste of a life while the non-believing world is dying without you. Don't live your life that way. It's possible, even up here in Wyoming, which is a very secular state, even then it's possible to live most of your life in the church and spend the least amount of time possible making friends with non-believers. Not only is that possible, it's scary, it's probable. Statistically, that will be most of us in this room. And we will be like the man in Jesus' parable who got the one talent, and what did he do with that one talent? Buried it. But Jesus, I was so comfortable in my church, I didn't want to leave. Right? Don't be that person. You're going to have to kick your own butt for the rest of your life to get out there and make gospel friendships. That's going to be one of the biggest things in your adult life. Kicking your own butt to make gospel friendships. And you're going to have to kick yourself. I do. So don't feel bad if you do. Just do it. Just kick your own, I don't even know if it's possible to kick your own bus too. Try. I went to the University of Wyoming, secular campus. They teach evolution, they teach all that kind of stuff. Liberal education, liberal professors. Not all of them. You'll be surprised if you go to university and study agriculture or engineering. You're probably not going to get a very secular education. Probably going to get a pretty normal education. If you go and study American studies or something like that, forget it. It's garbage. You're going to get all trash and you're going to come out, I don't know, you're not necessarily going to come out weird. But you're going to hear a lot of really radical, weird, crazy stuff. Okay? So I would be careful what you study. But if the Lord is leading you in to American studies, so you can go teach that at a secular campus and teach the right way. I have a cousin that teaches anthropology. That's a pretty secular, evolutionary thing, right? Remember that Genius of Man book that all students before wrote? What that is teaching is what it's taught at most campuses. But my cousin wanted to go and teach the right way. So he teaches at an eminent university, and he teaches from a Christian perspective. Anthropology, isn't that crazy? You can do that. So if the Lord leads you to do that, that's fine. But here's the thing, if you go to university, get a really good church. That's a great combination. Don't be afraid of that university. If your parents don't want you to go, okay, that's fine. But I say, yeah, you can go there and have a great time reaching non-believers. And do it from your local church. I'm not saying in your local church, but have that support. Have that be your circle. You know how Jacksonville Bible College is your social circle right now? Make your church your social circle. And then let people in. Okay? That started me really having a lot of unbelieving friendships. I had a lot of non-believing friendships. I had non-believing roommates at times. It may or may not be what the Lord calls you to. That was what the Lord called me to in certain situations. Listen, I had a ball with those people. It wasn't always easy, but it begins to be something that you enjoy. It begins to be something that you really, really bond with those people that aren't believers. They become close friends. How do you not become like them? I dated a girl who somebody told me, oh, she made a profession of faith 4 years ago, but her dad wanted to go back to Catholic Church, and she was really pretty. I thought, oh, Lord's will. Okay, so I go and date this girl, and it became apparent after about 6 weeks, pretty sure this girl isn't saved. She was a good girl, but she wasn't saved. Yet I found out that my feelings for her were the same for a non-believing or for a believing girl. It's easy to get sucked into that. It's not like you're gonna date a non-believing person and they become a monster because they're not a believer. They're the same as you and I. Be careful. How do you resist that kind of temptation? Mostly, you're involved in a good church. Now, I had a good church that I was involved in. I went to a year Bible college. And, you know, that was my social circle. And I go to church because I had to. And I come back quickly to my circle. When you're in the university, your church is your circle. And you go to university because you have to. But you quickly come back to your circle. You see the difference? And that church becomes a really healthy circle of friends and circle of fellowship. And then you can reach people from that. That gives you tremendous strength. If you don't have Christian young people and friends around you, it makes it harder. You can still do it. That's up to the Lord, but it makes it harder. How do you become not like your non-believing friends? Have a good, solid group of Christian friends at a good church. We also started international student ministry. I'm going to leave that to the next part. Just a couple of opportunities that you have once you get out of this place. You have the opportunity to go to a secular school with a good church, or secular work with a good church. That will naturally open up opportunities to make disciples, won't it? If you're a wallflower, it makes it harder, but you can still do it. And believe me, those conversations you have with people, awkward, where you're afraid, they don't forget that. And what they remember is the gospel. Okay? The gospel is very hard to mess up. The reason I say that is because the Bible says, I wish I could remember. Sid and Mary, you could remember, but so pipe up if you remember what verse this is. But whenever God's word goes forth, it doesn't come back empty without accomplishing the purpose for which it was sent out for. Remember that one? It's in the Old Testament. Where is it?
Isaiah 55.
Awesome. You guys are incredible.
That's one.
Isaiah 55. I knew it. I was just testing you guys. Now, so even if you're awkward and scared, the gospel's out there. That's super, super powerful, and people remember that. Okay, that's happened in my life too. People who catch up with me years later from high school that only knew me as awkward, and they say, "Can we talk some more about that? I'm really having struggled in my life, and I'm thinking maybe you were right." They didn't remember the awkwardness so much as they remember the message. Isn't that incredible? So just go share. But here's the deal. Secular work, school, whatever, get a good church. Find an evangelistic Bible study. We'll talk about evangelistic Bible studies in a bit, and join it. I'm just going to save that for the next part. Let's have a break. How long is the break for, Sid? Tim?
Yeah, I'd say 5-minute break.
5-minute break? All right. 3 lumps,
Inge.
2 creamers.
You gonna stay in here?
I am.
Oh,
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
you want cream? You want cream?
Yeah, I do. Thank you very much. You're going to pass this class.
Well, you great.
That's a lot of sitting, guys.
Yeah.
Alexa, where are you from? You told me.
Good.
Michigan?
Michigan. What's upper or lower?
Upper lower, like down the road here.
Okay, what's the name of town?
Zaski?
I don't
Traverse
remember
City?
that. Yeah, I heard Traverse City.
Yeah, we're about an hour and a half north.
Okay, is it rural?
No. It's like a tourist town.
Inner city?
No.
Jackson.
Like Jackson,
Yeah.
it's really pretty and all that. Is it right on that lake?
Yeah.
That's really.
Are there vineyards and cherry groves?
There are, yes.
Yeah.
Lots of cherries, lots of vineyards, and the town is really cutesy. We live right on Lake Michigan. We live just outside of town, so we can have our own like farm.
Beautiful. Wow. Have you been there, Mary?
No, well, no, I haven't been that far north. Like, we've been to Holland
Okay.
and.
That's in Europe.
So they have no Bible,
That
they're
town.
only
It's south of Holland, I
2
think,
million Islam.
but long time ago.
So we could do something like
Yeah, a
that.
lot of Dutch
You could do,
Reformed,
and then
Christian Reformed, that whole area.
feature
You are the man. Thank
Yeah, so Southern Baptists need to go to that area, you know?
We need to plant our flag.
Yeah, exactly.
The Dutch ain't doing it. Oh, wow, Gideon is so nice for getting involved. All right, so Ken, did you graduate this last fall? Are you and Eileen twins?